Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going straight to the source, congressional testimony, to unravel one of the most perplexing mysteries of our time. Unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs. You know 'em. We're going beyond those grainy photos and anecdotal accounts.
Look, we're talking about credible witnesses, people who have seen things firsthand and are speaking under oath before Congress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going to focus on the testimony of four key figures. Retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, Lou Elizondo, Michael Schellenberger, and Michael Gold. Their backgrounds are in military operations, intelligence analysis, investigative journalism, and aerospace engineering. So they bring this multifaceted perspective to the UAP issue.
We're moving beyond are they real to what are the implications for national security, science, and our understanding of the universe?
Okay.
The big questions.
Let's jump right in with Admiral Gallaudet's testimony. He was the oceanographer of the Navy, responsible for maritime safety and security. He described a pretty chilling incident that took place during a naval exercise off the U.S. East Coast. An email landed in his inbox with the subject line, "Urgent Safety of Flight Issue."
Now, this wasn't just some random pilots. We're talking about highly trained aviators from the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group prepping for deployment.
And the email was so concerning that they actually considered shutting down the whole exercise due to safety risks.
Yeah, multiple near midair collisions between Navy aircraft and UAPs. That's serious stuff.
Absolutely. But here's where things get really strange.
Yeah.
The very next day, that email vanished.
Gone.
Like it never even existed. Admiral Gallaudet even contacted the sender, but the sender had no memory of sending it.
Seriously, what happened to that email?
It's a total mystery. Was it deleted? Maybe it triggered some kind of security protocol. Who knows? But this incident raises some serious questions about transparency and information control within the government.
If senior officials like Admiral Gallaudet are kept in the dark about potential safety hazards, what does that say about the secrecy surrounding UAPs? It's a little concerning.
And this isn't just an isolated incident. Remember that Go Fast video the Pentagon released a while back?
The one with the UAPs zipping across the screen?
That's the one. Well, guess what? That video was captured during the same naval exercise that Admiral Gallaudet testified about.
So the Go Fast video isn't just a random clip.
Nope. Seems like it's part of a much larger puzzle, one that might point to a deliberate effort to maybe downplay or even conceal how frequent and serious these UAP encounters really are.
It really makes you think.
Okay, so let's move on to Lou Elizondo, former director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, A2P. That was a shadowy Pentagon program tasked with investigating UAPs. In his testimony, Elizondo dropped a bombshell. He stated that advanced technologies, and get this, potentially of non-human origin, are monitoring sensitive military installations around the world.
Wow, this isn't just about UFO sightings anymore.
Right. Elizondo suggested a potential national security threat, implying that the U.S. might be in a multi-decade secretive arms race to keep up with these advanced technologies.
So we're talking about a technological competition with adversaries or even non-human entities with capabilities beyond anything we can imagine.
That's exactly what he's suggesting.
It's like something out of science fiction, but with very real implications for our world.
Elizondo goes even further. He alleges that this arms race is being funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars, hidden from congressional oversight. Basically, he's suggesting a clandestine network operating outside the law and with zero accountability.
Wow. These are serious allegations.
They really are. This raises some fundamental questions about transparency, accountability, and the potential misuse of taxpayer funds. If Elizondo's claims are true, it means elements within the government are operating with a level of secrecy that's, well, alarming.
Definitely alarming and undemocratic.
Okay, so now let's talk about something Elizondo mentioned in his testimony that has caught a lot of attention. The UAP Disclosure Act. It's a piece of legislation recently introduced in Congress. It aims to establish a formal process for reviewing UAP records, potentially forcing the government to reveal what it knows about UAPs.
This UAP Disclosure Act could represent a major shift in the government's approach to this whole thing.
It could mean moving away from decades of denial and secrecy to a more open and transparent process. It's a sign that the issue is being taken seriously, and the pressure is mounting for the government to come clean.
That's great to hear.
Now let's move on to Michael Schellenberger. He's the investigative journalist who blew the lid off a clandestine program called Immaculate Constellation.
Immaculate Constellation. That sounds like something out of a spy novel.
Doesn't it? Well, Schellenberger claims that Immaculate Constellation is a highly classified, unacknowledged special access program, and is dedicated to collecting and analyzing UAP data.
So he doesn't just assert that this program exists. Does he give details?
Yes. He provides details about its mission, its sources of information, and its potential implications. He claims that the government is sitting on a mountain of high-quality UAP data. Videos, images, sensor readings, the whole 9 yards.
So we're talking data that could potentially revolutionize our understanding of physics and technology.
Exactly. But if this program exists and has all this incredible information, why all the secrecy? Why not share it with Congress and the public?
It's a good question. It's like they're afraid of something.
What are they so afraid of revealing?
Maybe it's not just about protecting national security. Maybe it's about maintaining control over information that could challenge the established order, disrupt existing power structures, even threaten some people's fundamental beliefs.
Right, like they're worried about what might happen if the public truly understood the extent of this phenomenon.
I mean, it could be paradigm shifting. It could lead us to reassess our place in the universe, our understanding of science, maybe even our religious beliefs.
It's a lot to take in for sure. But Schellenberger's revelations really highlight this tension between the government's desire for secrecy and the public's right to know.
It's a battle that's been going on for ages.
For sure. And with more and more UAP evidence coming to light, it seems like we're reaching a turning point. Now, this is where Michael Gold, the former NASA official, enters the picture. He brings a refreshing dose of pragmatism to the UAP discussion.
How so?
He advocates for a more open and scientific approach to UAP research, urging us to get over the stigma and use every tool at our disposal to understand what's going on.
So he sees UAPs as a scientific puzzle to be solved, a challenge to our understanding of the universe, and maybe even an opportunity for groundbreaking discoveries.
That's exactly it.
I like that perspective.
Me too. Gold specifically highlights NASA's Aviation Safety Reporting System. It's called ASRS. It's a confidential system where pilots can report safety incidents without fear of, punishment or anything. It's a way to encourage pilots who've seen UAPs to come forward and share their experiences without fear of ridicule or career damage. Stuff that has often been associated with reporting these kinds of encounters.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You have to make people feel safe if you want them to report what they see.
Totally. It's about removing the taboo and encouraging open communication about something that could have huge implications for how we understand the world.
Okay, so we've talked about near-miss encounters, allegations of secret government programs, the need for more transparency.
It's a lot to take in, for sure.
Yeah.
It raises some big questions about what we know, what we don't know, and who's controlling the narrative.
I'm ready for more.
Well, good, because we'll delve even deeper into the potential implications of this testimony in part 2 of this deep dive. We'll be exploring the technological possibilities, the national security concerns, and even the existential questions that UAPs raise about our place in the cosmos. Stay tuned.
What's really remarkable about these congressional hearings is the shift in how we're discussing UAPs. It's not just happening in government circles, it's happening all over.
Yeah, it feels like the conversation is finally moving from the fringe into the mainstream. We've come a long way from those old UFO documentaries with grainy footage.
Right. Now we're talking high-definition videos, military pilots, radar data, and sensor readings. This is hard evidence.
Evidence that's tough to ignore, for sure.
And it's not just the quality of the evidence, it's the quantity, too.
Huh.
We're seeing a global pattern of activity, not just isolated incidents.
Multiple branches of the military, civilian pilots, even astronauts.
Exactly. It's getting harder and harder to dismiss all of this as misidentification or weather balloons.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say these UAPs are evidence of non-human intelligence. What does that mean for us?
That's the big question, isn't it? The truth is, we just don't know enough to say for sure what their intentions are.
It's unsettling, to say the least.
Definitely. But we can analyze their behavior, look at the evidence, and try to draw some logical conclusions.
So what are we seeing?
Well, one thing that stands out is that UAPs are often observed near military installations and nuclear facilities.
So they're interested in our technology, our capabilities.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
It suggests a strategic interest, perhaps even a form of surveillance or assessment.
Almost like they're sizing us up,
Yeah,
trying to understand what we're capable of.
it's possible.
Kind of makes you feel like we're not the only ones watching the skies, right?
Right. But it's important to avoid projecting our own motivations and assumptions onto them.
Leading.
their intelligence, their goals, their whole way of perceiving reality could be vastly different from ours. We need to approach this with an open mind and a healthy dose of humility.
And a healthy dose of humility. That's good advice.
And let's not forget about the psychological impact of all of this.
You mean the impact on humanity?
Exactly. People are starting to wake up to the possibility that we're not alone in the universe. And that has profound implications for our culture, our religions, our understanding of who we are and where we fit in the grand scheme of things.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. And the societal impact of disclosure could be massive. It could spark a renaissance of scientific exploration, even a spiritual awakening for some. But it could also lead to fear, paranoia, social unrest.
So a mixed bag of potential outcomes.
Definitely. It all depends on how we as a society choose to react and adapt to this new reality.
Okay, let's get back to the congressional testimony for a minute. There was a lot of talk about the need for transparency and accountability from the government. And some of the witnesses, particularly Elizondo, were pretty adamant that the government is withholding information, not just from the public, but from Congress, too.
That's not good. If true, it's a serious breach of trust.
A violation of the public trust.
Right. The government has a responsibility to be accountable to its citizens, especially on something as significant as this.
And all this secrecy, it just breeds suspicion. It fuels conspiracy theories and undermines faith in our institutions.
Exactly. We need more transparency, not just to satisfy our curiosity, but to ensure that any decisions about potential threats or opportunities related to UAPs are made in a democratic and accountable way.
Absolutely. We need to be able to trust that our leaders are acting in our best interests. And we can't do that if they're keeping secrets from us.
Right. Transparency is essential for a healthy democracy.
And we can't forget about the whistleblowers who have come forward. These individuals are putting their careers, their reputations on the line to bring this information to light.
They deserve our respect and our protection.
Absolutely. They're facing ridicule, skepticism, even threats, but they keep pushing forward because they believe the truth needs to be told.
They're heroes, in a way. They're helping to shine a light on something that's been hidden for far too long.
One witness, a former submarine officer, shared a pretty hair-raising story about a USO encounter.
A USO? What's that?
An unidentified submerged object. Basically a UAP, but underwater.
Wow, so we've got these things in the air and the water.
Apparently so. This USO was tracked on sonar. It was moving at speeds that were just mind-boggling, far beyond anything any known submarine is capable of.
So we're talking about advanced underwater technology.
Way beyond anything we currently understand. According to this witness, this thing was first detected at a depth of about 2,000 feet, moving at over 100 knots. The fastest nuclear subs can only do about 35 knots. And even then, only for short bursts.
This thing was going 3 times faster than that.
At least. And seemingly without any effort.
That's incredible. It suggests a level of technological sophistication that's just, I don't even know what to say.
It's hard to even wrap your head around, right?
It really is. And then it gets even crazier.
Oh yeah, it gets crazier. Tell me more.
The witness said that this USO rapidly ascended from the depths, broke the surface, and then shot into the air at an even greater speed.
Are you serious? So it can transition between water and air seamlessly.
That's what he described. And that transmedium capability is one of the most baffling and intriguing aspects of this whole UAP-USO phenomenon.
It's like they're operating under a completely different set of physical laws than we are, defying our understanding of aerodynamics and hydrodynamics.
It challenges our fundamental assumptions about how things move and interact with their environment.
It's as if we're witnessing technology, or maybe physics, that we can't even begin to comprehend.
Exactly. It's like looking into a future that we can't even imagine.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a minute. We've got these unidentified objects, potentially possessing advanced technology, operating in our airspace and our waters. What about the national security implications? This has got to be a major concern, right?
Absolutely. It's a huge concern. From a national security standpoint, UAPs and USOs present a whole slew of challenges.
Like what?
Well, first and foremost, we need to figure out their origin and their intent. Are they friendly, neutral, hostile?
And what are they doing here? Are they just observing us? Or do they have more aggressive goals?
Those are the questions that keep me up at night.
Me too. And then there's the issue of their capabilities. If they can outmaneuver our fighter jets and submarines, what else can they do?
Right. Can they disrupt our communications, disable our weapons? Could they pose a direct threat to our cities, our infrastructure, These are uncomfortable questions.
And the lack of answers just makes everything scarier.
It's like we're staring into the abyss. We don't know what's out there or what it wants.
And the government's secrecy just adds fuel to the fire. It creates this environment of suspicion where people don't know who to trust or what to believe.
It's like they're more concerned with protecting their own reputations than they are with protecting the nation.
They're so worried about admitting they don't have all the answers that they'd rather keep the public in the dark, even if it means putting us at risk.
It's a dangerous game they're playing.
So what can we do? How do we break through the secrecy, get past the stigma? How do we get to the bottom of this mystery?
Those are the million-dollar questions, aren't they? What can we as citizens do to push for more transparency and accountability? You know, we've talked about a lot of big picture stuff, government secrecy, potential threats, advanced technology. But it's important to remember that this isn't just an abstract concept. It's about real people's experiences.
You're talking about the human element of the UAP phenomenon.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. These aren't just stories in a book or a movie. These are real people who have seen things, encountered things that challenge everything they thought they knew about the world.
That's what makes this whole topic so compelling. We can talk about data and speculate all day long, but those personal stories, the eyewitness accounts, they really stick with you.
Like, think about those pilots who have described seeing objects making maneuvers that seem impossible, defying the laws of physics as we understand them.
Or the radar operators tracking these things, moving at incredible speeds, way faster than anything we can build.
And it's not just people in the military either. We've heard from commercial pilots, air traffic controllers, even astronauts. These are all credible professionals, people we trust.
And they're all saying the same thing. Something strange is happening in our skies, and we need to figure out what it is.
The fact that these reports are so consistent, coming from so many different sources over such a long period of time, well, it's hard to ignore.
It definitely suggests a pattern that needs further investigation. And then there's the whole issue of secrecy and intimidation.
Right. Some of the witnesses who testified before Congress claim that people who try to speak out about their UAP experiences have faced some pretty serious consequences.
Like threats, harassment, career setbacks. It's really disturbing. If that's true, it means that there are people in power who are actively trying to suppress information and control the narrative.
That's a huge problem for a democracy. It erodes trust, it fuels conspiracy theories, and it prevents us from having an open and honest conversation about what's really going on.
And on top of all that, there's just so much misinformation out there. It's hard to know what to believe sometimes.
Absolutely. It's like a minefield of truth, half-truths, and outright lies. You really have to be careful about what you read and who you listen to.
Do you have any advice for our listeners on how to navigate this confusing landscape?
Well, I'd say the most important thing is to be a critical thinker. Don't just blindly accept everything you hear or read. Look for credible sources, consider multiple perspectives, and be skeptical of anyone claiming to have all the answers.
That's good advice for pretty much anything in life, really.
It is. And when it comes to UAPs, it's especially important because we're dealing with a phenomenon that challenges our understanding of reality. We have to be open to new ideas, but also grounded in facts and evidence.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but what about the possibilities? What are some of the most intriguing aspects of this whole UAP thing?
Well, for me, it's the sheer variety of what people are reporting. I mean, we've got everything from classic flying saucers to tic-tacs, orbs, triangles, even these weird amorphous blobs that seem to defy description.
It's like we're getting glimpses of something that's totally alien to our experience, something that operates outside the rules we thought governed the universe.
It's humbling in a way, but it's also incredibly exciting because it means that there's so much more to learn, so much more to discover.
So where do we go from here?
The next step is to keep pushing for more transparency and accountability. We need to demand answers from our governments, we need to support scientific research, and most importantly, we need to keep an open mind.
We need to be willing to consider the possibility that we're not alone in the universe.
Exactly. This is a topic that has the potential to change everything we thought we knew about ourselves, about our place in the cosmos.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about congressional testimony, eyewitness accounts, scientific analysis, the national security implications. We've even touched on some pretty profound philosophical questions. It's been a wild ride.
It has, and I think we've only just scratched the surface.
I agree. There's still so much more to learn. But hopefully this has given our listeners a good overview of the current state of the UAP phenomenon, and maybe even sparked some curiosity and a desire to learn more.
Absolutely. Keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop wondering about what's out there.
Because the truth, whatever it may be, is out there waiting to be discovered. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
I would have been on top of the charts, but it's politics. You do some gimmick shit and post, you get a lot of clicks. Drop some real shit and they probably won't acknowledge it.